Jamie Forbes for Fine Art Magazine, and I'm here with Sean Flynn, correct?
Yes.
And you're part of Canyon Publishing?
Yeah, Coral Canyon Publishing.
Coral Canyon Publishing,
Yeah.
And these are your photographs, correct?
They are, yeah.
And you were born in 1985 in London, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And tell me a little, I love your photographic work. You really, your exposures are different. These are your giclée prints. But how do you arrive at your images, and what is it you're trying to capture?
For these ones in particular, these are all from the England shoot. I'm from London. I grew up in Bath. You know, it's near Bristol. And this was our house. This right here is the house we grew up in, and it was our last time we were going to be there. And I had a camera, and I'd been experimenting with HDR photography, and I wanted to kind of capture, you know, my experience of that house and living in that place.
What do you shoot with?
I shoot with a Canon 7D.
You do shoot with
Yeah.
a Canon 7D?
Yeah.
Okay, and your exposures, you're contrasting blacks and whites, and you introduce color as an accent. Now, how did you arrive at this as a mental image? Because what I understand is photography is the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
So how are you presenting the eye that you're beholding what you see with?
Well, I'm a firm believer in photographs that really have to say something, because I come from a film world, and I'm a director first and foremost before this happened.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so, I mean, a lot of these are very cinematic because they're, you know, that's all I really know how to do since I was growing up. But,
okay.
But I don't know, I just want to capture a story or an essence or a feeling and make someone look at it and just kind of be, you know, immersed into the photo and it kind of feel something. Like this one right here, this is misoneism, which means an extreme fear or hatred of change. So basically it's this woman in this overgrown garden that just refuses anything to be there. This is my kingdom, don't come anywhere. And most of the photos and portraits are based on that kind of sense of telling stories.
So that is Nisophism?
Misoneism, yeah.
Misoneism.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm pronouncing that.
You know, I have to say, shall we tell everybody your mother is?
Jane Seymour, yeah.
And I will tell you this, that 5 or 6 years ago, I had a conversation with your mother, and the same thing. Either you guys are incredible readers and have an in-depth vocabulary, and all of a sudden you'll just be talking and a word will come, and a concept will arise. And how did you arrive at this concept? A fear
well,
of
it's mainly because kind of the town. I mean, it's an historical home, and literally in that area right there, you can't change anything there. You can't change the hedges. I mean, you can upkeep them, you can trim them, but that's it.
But you can't do it.
And this pond they have endangered newts in it.
Oh, how interesting!
So, which is why it's all overgrown and nothing can be changed. And
does the purple represent anything?
It's over 1,000 years old. The purple, it was just a nice contrast to the grass, and that's what I picked.
So the pond is over 1,000 years old. It's medieval.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I mean.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting.
The house was originally owned by King Henry VIII, or not originally, but he
no,
bought
I
it.
understand.
Yeah,
That's
from the
very
monks.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I gotcha.
But you asked me earlier about the exposures and how I do it. Basically, the crudest way to explain is I shoot 3 different exposures. So I will take a shot that's overexposed, which is, you know, for the shadows and stuff, so you can see through the shadows, and then for the darks, and then I'll underexpose for the sky, so you get the full definition of the sky, and I'll do a middle exposure, which will be my subject, which is basically the grass and her. And then sometimes I choose differently. If I want shadow, I'll have a less of a separation or more of a separation, depending on how I want it. But it has to be kind of, you know, perfect for where it is, and I have to wait for certain times of day to shoot the way I want to get the effect I want. When I did the Virginia shoot, I had to stay an extra week for the weather to be correct. So it's a lot of patience, a lot of research.
So shadow and light plays heavily into what you're trying to say as a photographer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And in film also?
Yeah, definitely in film, yeah.
In film. And what does shadow represent for you?
It's just, you know, you can use shadow to, you know, play with light and play with your pictures and your stories and you know, create moods.
Well, my understanding of shadow comes from the Dada period of art, Max Ernst, and then I was lucky enough to see the play Lulu done as a Dada period piece with a great deal of shadow used. And I was absolutely infatuated with the use of shadow and light as a profound psychological influence to get across a particular momentum or concept, metaphor.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I mean, that is completely what it is. I mean, you use it for certain scenes or certain shots where it's appropriate. This one doesn't have any shadows. where this does because it was appropriate, and that's how I wanted it.
And this scene
this doesn't actually have any shadows either. It just, I mean, it does have a little bit, but not as much.
It's an incredible vision, though. This particular piece. It's an incredible vision.
This is Cheap Street in Bath.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
it says right. You can see it right there.
Cheap Street in
says,
Bath.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are the films that you've directed?
I've done a few shorts. I'm doing a feature right now called American Wasteland.
Oh, interesting.
I had a couple of shorts play at Con at a showcase. One was called Numb. I did with James Duvall and DeSalvo. Played at Con, I think, in 2007. I don't know what it says anymore. Yeah, something like that. But and then I got distribution, and I got offered me a feature film. And then before that, when I was 19, I did a film for a promo documentary for one of Steven Spielberg's Holocaust Foundations called
fabulous.
Called the Righteous Rescuers Lecture Series.
I remember that.
Yeah, and that played at Con as well. And so that was my first paying directing job and working.
You should come into the Hamptons to the HIF Festival.
Yeah.
No, it's a phenomenal festival. I
can't bring that film because I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you're not allowed to?
Because I don't own it.
Oh, okay.
It belongs to him.
But you should come in and bring a film because they previewed
to, yeah.
Black Swan out there, and Stuart Suma from Silver Cup runs it. He's I work events that accompanies it.
Well, maybe I'll send them out there again and see if they take it. Yeah.
You should, and I'm so pleased to have met you.
Yeah, you as well. We're getting ready to go to Boston and Rhode Island to do location scout for my next film. So
and what will
right
that
after
be?
this, it's called American Wasteland.
Oh, you had said. Okay.
Yeah.
And what will you cover in that film?
I'm directing it. So
what's the subject matter? Yeah.
I hope I don't get in trouble for talking about it. It's about a recovering addict who's released from prison into an experimental program.
What an apropos title.
And tries to win back his family and get his best friend.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Well, I want to thank you, Sean, for your time.
Yeah.
And I want to wish you tremendous success at Artexpo, Pier 94.
Yeah.
And I'm Jamie Forbes for Fine Art Magazine. And if they want to find your art again, tell me the website.
Right now it's on Facebook. The website's being updated, but it's facebook.com/Sean M Photography.
Sean M. But your mother's site carries the
Yeah, there's a link from my mother's site.
And your mother's site is?
It's JaneSeymour.com.
JaneSeymour.com. And
so.
Your Facebook page, one more time?
Is facebook.com/Sean M Flynn Photography.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
The work is brilliant. I really appreciate you talking to me.